Inside the stories that affect you. This is Inside KELOLAND.
Thank you for joining us. This is an exciting time for the city of Sioux Falls. South Dakota's largest city continues to grow. That means more families and new businesses are calling it home. On today's Inside KELOLAND, we are taking a closer look at Sioux Falls' growth and what you can expect in the future. New hotels are going up and so are restaurants. We're also talking about the future of tourism in the city. Along with new businesses, the city is bringing in more sales tax money. We'll look at the increase. Plus, we'll hear from a local business owner. First tonight, you've been by Lake Lorraine lately. You've seen the changes. Construction crews have been going nonstop at the Westside Shopping and Living Center. 80% of the 130-acre space is planned out. On top of Marshall's, DSW, and Hobby Lobby, the site will be home to the city's first Hyatt hotel in June and Dave & Buster's next August. We just got our first look at the renderings this week. KELOLAND's Matt Holson takes a look back at the history of Lake Lorraine and how it's becoming a destination and community.
Wake up on the shores of Lake Lorraine.
With development going swimmingly at Lake Lorraine, it's easy to forget how long it took to get here. While it's a blossoming lake-themed community now, it was the stomping grounds of Patty Vognild's childhood.
It's amazing. I still can't even believe it. Sometimes there'll be something in the news about Lake Lorraine, and literally we all run to the TV, and it's just like so exciting. We can't hardly believe that it's happening.
Vognild and her sister Cindy Monin own the land through Friesen Development. They grew up in the Friesen family and remember swimming in a much smaller lake out here as kids with the help of their father, Warren Friesen of Friesen Construction.
So he'd bring a loader and he'd clear off all the weeds and so that we could get by the water.
The lake is much bigger now, following 20 years of digging. It took about that same amount of time to come up with a name for the picturesque place.
And Lake Friesen sounded like cold and kind of uninviting, and Lake Warren didn't really sound right. And we just struggled. I swear it was like 15 years that we what do we name it? What do we name it?
Lake Lorraine is actually a nod to Patty's mother, Hilda Lorraine Friesen, who died in 2017. Two of Hilda's granddaughters also have Lorraine as their middle name.
So now we have 3 generations of Lorraine as a middle name, and that story is very important for me to tell.
Another local family helping to tell that story and bring businesses here is the Van Buskirks.
They're the anchor, to pull that regional business in, because the local retailers can take advantage of their marketing power.
Steve Van Buskirk is the president of land development for Van Buskirk Companies. He says this new Hyatt hotel is set to open next June, and he hopes restaurants follow.
They want to connect a restaurant up to that hotel up there, and then we'll have another place over here, kind of in our main area, the Main Street area over here.
With retailers and office buildings at the lake, Van Buskirk says there's a growing lunch crowd.
Should give Chipotle a call. Sounds like they're coming.
Yeah, we called them. So everybody's got a place to go, So we'd love to see them. And there's a laundry list of people that always hits the list of that you'd like to get in here. We're hopefully we can land a couple of those.
Dave & Buster's is set to open here next August. A loft hotel should start construction in the spring. You can also see the start of 58 townhomes that will be part of the Shores at Lake Lorraine development. With a third of the lake walk complete, it's truly becoming a place to live, work, and play.
It's really a beautiful amenity and just a great chance for people to enjoy the outdoors.
10 years ago this month, Child's Play Toys owner Nancy Savage opened her first store in downtown Sioux Falls. This spot, south of Hobby Lobby, will be her second store.
We are filling it all the way up to the ceiling almost. I mean, we are going way up with toys.
Savage, a fierce advocate for downtown, says she sees a similar vibe out here.
What I love about downtown is that whole community feel, and that's what I'm getting from here for sure. Right now, I see the fountain. I love it, but I'm even looking more forward to seeing Dave & Buster's and the hotel, and because all of that will bring people.
Cheesecake Factory, Whole Foods, all
the dreaming continues. At a recent Halloween event hosted by Lake Lorraine, guests added to this wish list hanging on the wall.
We kind of just pulled all the people that came out here on Saturday and to see what they had to say, and hopefully this will spark some people to come out and join us.
I like the White Castle too.
Land was just sold for another professional office building. Vognild also wants to bring in someone who can get people out on the water where her family used to swim and fish.
We would like a business to, have something down here where they can rent things to be on the water.
The opportunities are overflowing, and for Vognhild, so is her pride for the lake community. She even gets emotional about it.
So like Home Goods, Marshalls, Hobby Lobby. My dad was parked in Ford and on a Saturday, and he was counting cars, and he would call my sister and I, and he'd say, I just counted 200 cars in the last 10 minutes. I can't believe there's this many people driving into Lake Lorraine. And I think that is a good story about how you think of something for so many years, and then it's finally happening, and you can hardly believe it. So I think that's captures the feeling that our family has.
A feeling the entire community can take part in now when they go to Lake Lorraine. With Eye on KELOLAND, I'm Matt Holson.
Van Buskirk says the new Hyatt Hotel has been a long-requested business in town by the Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau. He says the hotel will have a lakeside space for future weddings and events. And our first guest today is Matt Tobias with the City of Sioux Falls Planning and Development Department. Thank you so much for joining us. It is really exciting. I think about I've lived in Sioux Falls for a lot of years and how many years that land was just empty.
Yeah, and it's been empty, and it's been really exciting to sit back and kind of watch how fast actually the land has taken off.
When some of those big discount stores that are so popular now, they've really kind of replaced the big malls, right? Like Marshalls and TJ Maxx and those types of stores, they attract other businesses.
They really are. They do attract other businesses, and then you got to look back at our mall too. And our mall is kind of one of the rare cases in the country where our mall is thriving. We actually have a couple planned developments that are going to be happening in and around our mall, hopefully here within the next year or so.
What kind of planned developments are you referring to?
We have some box stores and whatnot that are kind of looking at doing some additions around the mall. The thing that helps the mall so much is the traffic counts. I mean, because you take the number of cars that travel on 41st Street every single day, and that bodes a big portion of what these businesses are looking for.
I think what really helps Sioux Falls, too, is we're really a regional destination for so many people in Northwest Iowa, Southwest Minnesota. I mean, everyone seems to come here from the surrounding rural areas to shop in the state.
Yeah, and that's why we all love 41st Street on a Saturday afternoon, right?
And try to avoid it if you live here, right?
It's the sheer volume of traffic that just goes up and down that road, so which poses a whole different set of challenges for us. But when it comes to development in that area, in the Lake Lorraine area, kind of along those high traffic count areas, that's what these businesses are looking for. They take our traffic count models, they look at our economy. You know, we're very fortunate in Sioux Falls to not follow the national trends. Sometimes when the downturn in the economy, our economy is pretty stable. We have a low job employment rate, where our population grows by 2.5% average every single year. So Sioux Falls has got a really good market for a lot of these things.
Is there, you've got on the east side, you've got the Dolly Farms, and then you've got Lake Lorraine on the west and the mall to the south. Any other area of town that's going to see this type of retail?
Those are really the big three, if we can call that, is the mall area, Lake Lorraine, and then Dolly. So that's where we're seeing a lot of big developments in that area. So, yeah, pretty much those are our big three.
Yeah, and everyone always wants to know, when is the Cheesecake Factory coming? I say this in jest, really, because I did business reporting for about 10 years, and that question was asked of me all the time, and it really has to do with the population.
It does, and that's one thing that our local development community spends a lot of time every year. They go to the Recon Convention in Las Vegas, and so our development community spends a lot of time kind of coaxing these larger businesses and these larger big box stores and restaurants and whatnot. We lay it out for them. We lay it on pretty thick and say, hey, come to Sioux Falls. This is what we have going for us. So that seems to work very well. So we get a lot of traction from that. But a lot of these big companies like this and these big restaurants, they do study our market. And a lot of them have based on population whether they're going to come here or not. So like the Cheesecake Factories of the world.
They want like 800,000 people, right?
They have a set number of, but they also, they like to study our market, and they want to see what's going on with our market. And they may still come here because if our market can support it.
All right, we'll have some more questions for you. It is time for a quick break. We have a lot more to talk about, including the impact of all of these new restaurants and hotels on local tourism. Stay with us. You're watching Inside KELOLAND. Welcome back. We are talking about Sioux Falls growth with Matt Tobias from the Planning and Development Department with the City of Sioux Falls. Before the break, I was talking about Cheesecake Factory and how it takes a bigger population. At least that's what they've told us. But we do know that Chipotle is coming to Sioux Falls. We have a lot of people in the newsroom excited about that in about a year from now, correct? We don't know where?
We're not sure on the location yet. They just announced that we haven't seen the building plans yet either. So they've announced they're going to come into a market in 2020.
What are some of the other most requested retail or development things that you hear about?
You hit Cheesecake Factory is one of the big ones. Another one we hear a lot about is Trader Joe's. And Trader Joe's, they keep telling us that they're studying our market as well. So I don't know if that'll be 2, 3, 4, 5, or if there ever will come. But that's one that we hear commonly about is Trader Joe's.
Now, we talked a bit about retail. We talked about some hotels. But what ultimately drives those businesses to come to Sioux Falls? Is it other projects? I mean, we had the big Avera on Louise project.
Yeah.
You see some hotels going up and other things around there.
Rooftops help. I mean, these businesses, they look for rooftops. They look for what their audience is going to be, and they study our market, make sure our market can support that. And then also our traffic counts. Like I always talk about that because a lot of these businesses, they want to see a set number of cars going by on a daily basis, knowing that they're going to be going by their business. And if it's a well-known business, they feel that they can attract them.
And what about just our main thoroughfares like Minnesota Avenue? I mean, there's always been talk about redevelopment of Minnesota Avenue. We're seeing First Premier put a large project right there. Will that help maybe some of the turnover on that area or other
I definitely
businesses?
think that will. The First Premier Bank, their new office location on Minnesota Avenue, it's taking a corner that's been vacant for quite some time. There's been some dilapidated houses that have kind of been in that area. So that's going to be a really nice development to kind of, we're always looking at ways to where we can bring the momentum downtown. How far can downtown shift, right? In east and west of that. So we are seeing some big developments happening downtown as well with a railroad relocation. So we're seeing we've had Jeff Schierslick and his group have announced some stuff down there. So the Premier Bank card on Minnesota Avenue, that's only going to help.
Are there other road projects that you're looking toward on Minnesota Avenue that might help spruce it up a little bit?
Yeah, there is a road construction project that we have kind of planned for the next couple of years on the north section of Minnesota Avenue from 18th to Russell.
So the drivers will be like, oh no, we had to deal with that.
Yeah,
but
so
what is it going to do for the city?
It's going to be a lot because we're going to do a corridor study.
What does that mean?
Corridor studies, we take a look at that. We'd take a look at that corridor all the way through there, and we'd look at areas where we can maybe enhance to some development, enhance some of those areas along Minnesota Avenue. If you think about it, Minnesota Avenue, the shot that we always see, the picture shot, is from the top of the hill looking towards downtown on Minnesota Avenue. So we really want to enhance that area a lot. We want to plant some trees in through there and really make that kind of a key focal point when you're coming in to Sioux Falls from the airport and you come down that Minnesota Avenue corridor.
First impressions, really, you know, you do not get a great first impression of Sioux Falls when all you see is concrete, right?
True. So we want to soften up. We want to bring some green back into the area. So.
Yeah. What about filling all these jobs that these businesses bring? And with such a low unemployment rate, historically in Sioux Falls, I know that is always an issue. How do you sell that to somebody who needs, someone, maybe the minimum wage workers to work in hotels, the servers, the restaurants? There's already a server shortage, really.
It's a challenge. And I mean, I feel for the businesses that are trying to hire employees because it's really hard to walk by a business and not see a help wanted sign.
Right.
And so I think that it's going to be a challenge, and they're going to have to figure something out and be strategic about how they hire people.
Do we have enough housing for the number of people coming into Sioux Falls every year?
Yeah, so we have enough housing, but whether or not we definitely have a shortage of what we call accessible housing. And that's where accessible housing, we do consider affordable housing in that too, but we also look at the first-time home buyer, and then we also look at the second home buyer people. So we want to make sure that we have enough homes for someone to move into after they've moved out of their first-time home buyer into the next house. So,
and you don't see the kind of building of homes, of single-family homes like you used to before the recession, I think, in Sioux Falls. Yeah. I mean, it still happens, but not at the pace, I think.
Our numbers that this year, we're getting closer to the end of the year here, and we're starting to see our numbers. And our residential houses are down just a little bit, but they're still really high.
Oh, okay.
They're still really high. So in our twin homes, we're still seeing a lot of townhome development, and of course the apartments. We're seeing quite a bit of apartments still.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks for joining us and giving us a picture of the city and its growth. Well, the more the city of Sioux Falls grows, the more people want to come and visit here. We'll take a look at the future of tourism when we come back. This last week, we got our first look at plans for a Hyatt Place hotel going in at Lake Lorraine on the west side of Sioux Falls. The $7.5 million hotel is one of several currently in the works. New hotels and restaurants are not only good for the community, they are great for tourism. We got to get people here and have somewhere for them to stay and somewhere to eat, right? Terry Schmidt with the Sioux Falls Visitors and Convention Bureau joins us now. We're going to talk about what it takes to attract more tourists, more visitors to Sioux Falls.
Well, those new hotels certainly make a difference. You know, we talk about Lake Lorraine, which is basically what the hotels that you were just talking about. That whole development is really one of the things that a community looks for, because it is an experience waiting to happen at Lake Lorraine. You can shop, you can eat, you can live. You can certainly now visit and stay right there. So many people in the travel industry anymore, those of us who travel, want convenience. We want to be able to stay at a place where if we don't want to leave, we don't have to.
You don't have to necessarily take transportation to get anywhere either, right? You can just walk out your door and walk a few blocks.
You can eat there, you can walk over there and shop. And, you know, they're talking about entertainment, paddle boats, I will say, you know, potentially at the lake. What fun is that? Everybody's looking for that kind of thing.
I know that, I know that there are some times in Sioux Falls where it's tough to get a hotel room. Some events, some big sporting things that are in town. Are there do we have a shortage of hotel rooms at certain times, or are we have enough now, or is this helping?
Well, as Sioux Falls grows, so does the demand. But the main thing that we don't want to do is overbuild. But we have to think, too, like Lee Howell's new stay bridge out on the south part of town that he just announced this week. That's primarily due to the medical growth in Sioux Falls.
Sure, you have people coming in for medical procedures or whatever it might be.
And as our medical potential of service grows, we're going to bring in more medical visitors. They need places to stay. So it's not just people coming to town for fun. They're going to come to town for services, such as medical. So, yes, those people will have medical needs. They will need to stay in a hotel, but they'll need to eat. And maybe they have an afternoon off from treatment or whatever, and they may decide to go shop for some things that they need. Those are visitors as well.
What else brings visitors to Sioux Falls?
A lot of the see and do. We're such a friendly, nice community that people love to come to.
Midwest nice?
Midwest nice.
Minnesota, Midwest nice?
Midwest nice. Our events, people love to come here because we keep new and fresh events coming. Sport events are very popular. The concerts are very popular. The art scene growing more and more. Sculpture Walk brings people to Sioux Falls. Now the Arc is a popular thing to come and see. Look at our water park, for example, Wildwater West. People come here for that. Thunder Road is adding on. People come here for that. Entertainment, shopping, eating, the beer and wine scene. They come here for that kind of enjoyment.
Yeah, you were advertising on buses when I was in Washington, D.C. a few years ago. I mean, trying to get people to stop here and stay rather than just pass through on their way maybe to the Black Hills to see Mount Rushmore.
And that particular campaign that we did was just prior to a week-long sales blitz in D.C. We did that very strategically. We wrapped those buses at certain routes through the business district of D.C., and then the next week we were out there pounding on the doors of national associations saying, hey, bring your convention or meeting to Sioux Falls.
And did it pay off?
It did. It
That's
worked.
Great.
We can't believe still today the number of people that said, aha, that was your bus. We saw that wrapped on that bus.
All
it
right.
worked. It was
Gonna
great.
do it again?
Yes, we are.
All right. And any other plans to try to get more people to come visit Sioux Falls?
Oh, absolutely. We're planning every day. In fact, we're just wrapping, well, I shouldn't say wrapping up. We're in the midst of getting nearer to wrap up a strategic plan. And pretty soon we're going to be coming out with a new logo, a new name for the Convention and Visitors Bureau. To be called a Convention and Visitors Bureau anymore is pretty much out of date.
Why is that?
Well, have you heard of Visit Rapid City? Have you heard of Catch Des Moines? Have you heard of Meet Minneapolis? Those are all Convention and Visitor Bureaus.
But they're changing their names to be catchier?
To be catchier and more marketing minded.
Yeah. See Sioux Falls?
I'm not letting the cat out of the bag yet. Wait and see. But along with that, you'll see all kinds of
alliteration
new
anyway.
strategies. Yes. Anything to upsell Sioux Falls.
All right. Thank you so much for being here, Terry. Well, when it comes to sales taxes, the city of Sioux Falls is in pretty good shape going into the holiday season. We'll take a look at the local numbers, and we'll hear from a local business owner when we come back. Busy stores, new buildings, and a landmark court case add up to a good year for Sioux Falls' bottom line. The city is bringing in more sales tax money. As KELOLAND's Brady Mallory reports, this fall is shaping up to be stronger than last fall, heading into the holiday shopping season.
Halloween hasn't officially happened yet, but if you own a store like Sarah Jameson, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
I love the traffic that we have on Phillips Avenue, but I'm excited for more traffic that the holiday season will bring.
Jameson says business has been good. Just in the 6 months her boutique, Tara Shepherd, has been open.
Business so far has exceeded my expectations, and I'm just excited to see what the rest of the year brings.
Tara Shepherd's brick and mortar location and online store are contributing to sales tax growth in Sioux Falls. City Finance Director Sean Pritchett says there are a few reasons why numbers are good right now.
Continued growth of the city. I think we've seen a continued strong economy here locally. We have extremely low unemployment. Retail sales and so forth still remain strong.
And then there's the Wayfair effect. More than a year ago, the U.S. Supreme Court decided the case of South Dakota versus Wayfair. The High Court said states can force online shoppers to pay sales tax. The decision was seen as a win for states. Pritchett says there are indicators that this is helping the city.
We haven't seen definitive numbers from the state as to the direct impact to our community as they continue to line out what that looks like for our city.
It's not quite the holiday season yet, but Jameson says glimpsing positive growth in sales tax in the city is a gift to her and her peers.
When those numbers are thriving, it means businesses are thriving, so that's good for us too.
Pritchett expects 4% growth next year. He's cautious about future growth because you need to take the national economy and farm economy into consideration. Well, tomorrow is Veterans Day, and here at KELOLAND TV, we are honoring our local veterans. You can catch our special Veterans Voices tomorrow right here on KELO TV as we thank our military for their service and sacrifice. You'll hear from 3 different generations of veterans about the issues military members and their families face every day. We'll also introduce you to a woman who served during the Vietnam War and the difficult job she has sending soldiers overseas. You can catch Veterans Voices Monday at 6:30 p.m. right here on KELOLAND TV. And if you miss it, we'll be airing it again on Sunday, November 17th. That is 1 week from tonight, following the late local news. You can find out more about today's topics online at KELOLAND.com. Just click on the Inside KELOLAND section. Join us every Sunday following the 10 o'clock news right here on KELOLAND TV.